In the world of dune, water is everything. A single drop is precious. A glass of water is wealth. An ocean is a myth. On Arrakis, the desert planet at the heart of Frank Herbert's masterpiece, water is so rare that people wear suits designed to recycle every drop of sweat, every breath of moisture their bodies produce. They cry for the dead, but they collect those tears, because even grief cannot afford to waste water. Now here is the question that will keep you up at night. What if that was Earth? Not in a galaxy far away, not thousands of years in the future, but what if it started happening right now? Because here is the truth nobody wants to say out loud. It already is. Today we are going to follow the science of water scarcity from our world to Arrakis, and find out exactly what happens to human civilization when the water runs out. Let's start with a number that will shock you. 97% of all water on Earth is saltwater, undrinkable without expensive processing. Of the remaining 3% that is fresh water, almost 69% is locked in glaciers and ice caps. That means less than 1% of all water on Earth is accessible fresh water for the entire human population. Less than 1% for 8 billion people. And we are using it faster than the planet can replace it. The United Nations estimates that by 2025, which has already passed, 2.7 billion people would experience water scarcity for at least 1 month per year. They were right. Right now today, 771 million people on Earth do not have access to clean drinking water. That is more than twice the population of the United States. And it is getting worse. The Colorado River, which supplies water to 40 million Americans, has been shrinking for decades. Lake Mead, the largest reservoir in the United States, hit its lowest level ever recorded in 2022. The Ganges, the Yangtze, the Niger, rivers that entire civilizations were built around, are drying up. And underneath our feet, the situation is even more alarming. Aquifers, the vast underground reservoirs that store ancient water built up over thousands of years, are being drained at a rate that takes centuries to replenish. In some parts of India, the ground is literally sinking because we have pumped out so much water from beneath it. This is not science fiction. This is Tuesday. Now let's go to Arrakis. Frank Herbert did not create Arrakis as pure fantasy. He spent years researching desert ecology before writing Dune in 1965. He studied the Arabian Peninsula, the Sahara, the indigenous peoples of desert regions, and how they adapted to extreme water scarcity. Herbert wanted to show what human civilization looks like when it is built entirely around a scarce resource. Sound familiar? On Arrakis, the Freemen, the indigenous desert people, developed an entire culture around water conservation. Their still suits recycled body moisture continuously. Their cities were built deep underground away from the brutal heat. They planted wind traps to capture moisture from the air. And they dreamed of transforming their planet, a process called terraforming, by slowly introducing water and vegetation over centuries. Here is the remarkable thing. Every single one of these technologies exists in our world right now. Atmospheric water generators, machines that pull moisture directly from the air, are already being deployed in water-scarce regions. In Morocco, a project called Dar Cimad has been harvesting water from fog using nets stretched across hillsides since 2015. Underground cities and climate-controlled habitats are being seriously discussed by architects and urban planners in the Middle East. And terraforming? China is currently running the largest artificial rain program in human history. Cloud seeding operations covering an area 3 times the size of Spain. Herbert was not writing fantasy. He was writing a warning. We do not need to imagine what happens when a city runs out of water. It has already happened. In 2018, Cape Town, South Africa came within days of becoming the first major city in modern history to completely run out of water. They called it Day Zero, the day the taps would be turned off. The day millions of people would have to line up at armed distribution points to collect their daily ration of water. 25 liters per person per day. That is less than 2.5 buckets. For drinking, cooking, washing, everything. The Freemen of Arrakis would have understood perfectly. Cape Town avoided Day Zero through desperate measures. Severe water restrictions. Farmers giving up their allocations. Emergency drilling for groundwater. But they came terrifyingly close. And they will not be the last. Scientists at MIT predict that by 2050 over 5 billion people will face severe water shortages for at least 1 month per year. Chennai, India, a city of 10 million, ran out of water in 2019. Flint, Michigan showed us that even in wealthy nations, water security is not guaranteed. Now imagine this not in one city, but everywhere simultaneously. In Dune, the most valuable substance in the universe is spice, and wars are fought over it. But Herbert based that directly on our world. Replace spice with oil and you have the last century of human conflict. Now replace oil with water and you have the next one. Military strategists and geopolitical analysts have been warning for decades that water will be the oil of the 21st century. The wars of the future will not be fought over ideology. They will be fought over rivers. It is already beginning. Ethiopia built the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam on the Nile. Egypt, which depends on the Nile for 97% of its fresh water, called it an existential threat. Military options were discussed openly. India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed nations, share the Indus River under a treaty that is under increasing strain as both populations grow and glaciers feeding the river shrink. The Mekong River runs through China, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. China has built 11 dams on it. Downstream nations are watching their river disappear. When people cannot drink, when crops fail, when children are dying of thirst, history tells us what happens next. The Freemen did not fight for ideology or empire. They fought for water. We may be closer to that than we would like to admit. But humans are remarkable. And if history teaches us anything, it is that we adapt. So what does a water-scarce human civilization actually look like? Let's follow the science. Agriculture transforms first. Agriculture uses 70% of all fresh water consumed globally. In a water-scarce world, traditional farming collapses. But vertical farming, growing crops in stacked indoor environments using 95% less water than traditional agriculture, becomes the dominant food system. Israel already leads the world in drip irrigation technology, growing food in the desert using a fraction of the water that conventional farming requires. The Netherlands, a country the size of Maryland, is the second largest food exporter in the world using precision agriculture that uses minimal water. Cities restructure completely. In a world like Arrakis, cities would move underground or into climate-controlled domes. Dubai is already building climate-controlled districts. The Museum of the Future. Sustainable city. Entire communities designed to function in extreme heat with minimal water. The human body itself adapts. The Freemen in Dune had blue eyes from spice exposure, but their bodies also adapted to extract maximum efficiency from minimum water. In our world, populations that have lived in water-scarce environments for generations show measurable physiological adaptations. Lower sweat rates, higher water retention efficiency, kidneys that concentrate urine more effectively. Evolution moves slowly, but it moves. Technology becomes everything. Desalination, removing salt from seawater, is already the primary water source for Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. But it is expensive and energy-intensive. The breakthrough we need is cheap renewable power desalination. And it is coming. MIT researchers recently developed a portable solar-powered desalination device that can produce clean drinking water from seawater for less than the cost of a bottle of water from a vending machine. Atmospheric water harvesting, fog collection, water from air. In the driest places on Earth, scientists are finding water in the air around us. The Namib desert beetle survives by collecting moisture from morning fog on its textured back. Engineers have copied this design to create surfaces that harvest water from air, even in extremely dry conditions. Nature figured it out. We're just catching up. So could Earth actually become Arrakis? Full Arrakis? A planet with virtually no surface water at all? The honest answer is no. Not completely. Not naturally. Earth has too much water locked in its oceans for complete desertification. But a partial Arrakis? A world where fresh water is so scarce it is rationed? Where water is the primary driver of conflict? Where entire populations wear technology designed to conserve every drop of moisture their bodies produce? That future is not science fiction. It is a straight line from where we are today. The IPCC, the UN body that tracks climate science, projects that climate change will intensify the global water crisis dramatically over the next 50 years. Wet regions get wetter, dry regions get drier, and the regions that are already struggling for water become uninhabitable. Up to 3 billion people could be living in extremely water-scarce conditions by 2100. Herbert wrote Dune as a warning about what happens when a civilization depends on a single precious resource, and the powerful few control access to it. He was talking about oil in 1965, but he might as well have been talking about water in 2025. In Dune, the Freeman had a saying, "The first step in avoiding a trap is knowing it exists." We know the trap exists. We can see it in the shrinking rivers, the dropping water tables, the day zero cities, the water wars already beginning. The question is not whether Earth is becoming Arrakis. The question is whether we act before the still suits become necessary, before water becomes more valuable than gold, before a single glass of water means everything. One planet, one resource, running out. What do we do about it? Well, that is not a story for another video. That is a story for all of us, right now.